Hi, I'm Christine Summers, and welcome to a Sketch Owl Designs tutorial. Hi guys, Christine Summers here from Sketch Owl Designs with part 2 of the tutorial on sublimation socks. So last time we talked about taking your background, taking your photo and removing the background. So we're going to talk about that very quickly in case anyone missed that. So there are two other options. The part one tutorial talked about using Photopea, and if you go in, you can see the full video of exactly how to remove a background in Photopea. But I am going to give you two other options. So a lot of people know, and let me actually go over here. So a lot of people know about remove.bg. Again, this used to be a free tool, but is no longer free. So there are actual subscription plans that go along with that. And I just did a screenshot real quick so you can see. I think you can get like one free credit. Like you can go in and still do one free, but obviously that's only going to be one pair of socks. So that may not do you any good unless you're doing it for yourself. So there are different subscription plans, and it kind of shows like per image, like how much it would be if you buy like 200 credits a month, and they kind of mark out the best value. And they do also have like a pay as you go. So again, if you're only doing one image, it looks like it's $1.99. So if you're doing a lot of socks, it may not be worth it to use the Remove BG unless you're really doing a lot and doing the subscription plan. That's my own personal opinion, and why I did the video on Photopea. The other thing is that I have found is this is an app for Apple. I do not know if it is on Android. It is a $4.99 cost. It's a one-time fee, so it's not a monthly fee. A lot of the photo editing apps on Apple are like a weekly and monthly, and some of them can get really expensive. I mean, some are, $60+ a year. So I wanted to give you this option. So this is SmartCut. Again, it is available on an iPhone, and it's $4.99. You have to play around with it a little bit. It takes a little bit of time to get used to. But if you're looking for another option, this may be another option for you as well to remove backgrounds from your photo so you can do your photo socks. So right now I'm in Silhouette, and I'm going to show this tutorial in Silhouette first, and then we're going to go ahead and move over to Photoshop and do a quick tutorial in Photoshop. So in Silhouette, I am using the Business Edition. I always suggest to upgrade to the Business Edition. I know you can use Silhouette for free and download their software for free, even if you do not have the actual Silhouette Cameo cutting machine. But I do suggest Silhouette is a very powerful design program. And if you start getting used to it, you'll understand why I say you'll want to upgrade to the Business Edition. I mean, I think when I a couple years ago did, it was maybe $40. It's a one-time charge. I've had to move it to like different computers and haven't had a problem at all. So it is a good software to upgrade to the Business Edition. It gives you a lot more options. So I have everything already pulled in here. I'm going to close this out because we don't need this anymore. Oh, and there's my socks. And I'm going to close this out. So I have our image. So this is our image. This is my dog Winnie. And this is what we removed in Photopea. Okay. So I removed the background off of that. I'm just going to enlarge that a little bit. And I've already pulled in. I just did a file open, and I pulled in my leprechaun socks. Now, we're going to do a couple things. As you can see, this is a transparent background. How do you know this is transparent? So right now, this is all white. But if I slide this over here, you'll see that's totally transparent. so that way we can put our photo in there. So we're going to do a couple of things real quick. So I'm going to come up here to my page icon, and my cutting mat, I'm going to keep that as none, and that's going to become really important when we go to print this out of Silhouette. Machine, you really don't have to change, but the media size I'm going to need to change, because as you see here, it's just set for 12 by 12. That's the usual default, and most of my design is down here. So I'm going to very quickly, I'm going to hit custom, and it actually reverted back to my custom. So I do this at 9.1 inch width by 18.9 inches in height. And there's a little bit of wiggle room on both sides of this, but if we just kind of line this up, you'll see there's a little bit, and I'll zoom in. So I have down here, you'll see a little bit of extra room on the sides, and that's fine because it's not going to affect our placing. And because if you are printing these out, you should have a printer that prints to 13 by 19 paper. That's not going to affect this at all because we're still within our constraints. So I have all this. You technically can remove, you don't want to change your orientation or anything. I keep the actual white background on here. I mean, I'm going to be printing on white socks, so it doesn't bother me. I already know that it is a transparent background. So what I'm going to do, since I already moved in the picture of my dog, I am just going to go, I just did a right click, copy. I'm going to come over here and I'm going to click paste. Now again, I am on top of this right now. And our dog's face is way too big. I want to right click again and go send to back of layer. And now my dog's face, and this is where we're going to start having problems. I'm going to click undo real quick, and I'm going to show you one other thing. So with Business Edition, you can work with layers, and with layers, let me make sure I didn't move this too much. I don't want to cut off any of my socks. So with layers, let's get rid of my page setup. I know this leprechaun is fine. So with my layers, I'm going to go here, and these boxes say open the layers panel, and this will make everything a lot easier because we're going to, number one, we need to add a new layer, okay? And I'm going to just slide this down. So my layer 2 is down here. Now, this polygon, it lists it as a polygon. This polygon is my actual leprechaun socks. This one you can see is my dog. I am going to just hold down my mouse and I'm going to move this polygon, the dog, now to layer 2. Now with layers, you can turn layers on and off. So if I unclick this, that disappears. I'm going to turn it back on. If I unclick this, that disappears. Now what happens though is when you're moving your dog's face, just like you saw, so I have this here. Now what happens is because I'm behind that, if I try to minimize that, because my socks are so large, it's automatically going to go back to my socks. And you're going to end up moving your sock template and not your actual photo. So again, I'm going to click back down here on my dog. So now I'm active on my dog. But on layer 1, which is my actual socks, I'm going to click this box right here. And what it does is it pulled up a lock. So now it's locked. So what happens is I can move my dog's face all around and my sock template is not going to move because this is locked. If I zoom in here, you can even see my cursor shows a little lock because this is all locked, okay? Which is a good thing, and you'll see why in a second. So I moved my dog's face to the back. My dog's face is way too big, so I'm just going to shrink my box. And again, I am on my dog's face picture. I'm going to bring my dog's face in. Now I'm a little too small. So at this point, you're just going to play with moving this around a little bit till you find exactly what you want. Sometimes if you make it a little bigger, so in this instance, I made it a little bigger, and you will see that my dog's ear is hanging out right over here. I actually like the size. I like how he looks in this, but I don't want his eye cut off. There's a little bit of white right here. I'm okay with that, but I need to remove this little piece because that could look odd printed, even though it's going to be small. So I'm going to click on my eraser, and I'm just going to go in again because I am on the layer of the dog. I'm only erasing that portion of the dog, so that way it doesn't show. So now all I need to do is place my dog in each one of these leprechaun faces because everything else is empty. Now, the easy way to do that is you can right click and click on duplicate, and then you can just move them over. So again, they're placed to the same spot there. Or what else you can do, I'm almost wondering, should I maybe... No, I'm going to cover his face just a little bit. Okay. So another thing you can do, and if you are not aware, there are quick keys in Silhouette Studio. So I can hit Control D, and that duplicates that. Okay. So I'm going to make this a little smaller, and I am going to duplicate all of my dogs and move them over one at a time, but I'm not going to, I just want to make sure I have enough of them. I'm just pressing Control D on a PC to duplicate each one, and I'm just moving them down, and then I'll go back and I will place them all. And again, it just takes just a minute until you kind of get the hang of it. Okay, so now I have them all duplicated. I'm going to zoom back in so I can make sure they're all placed correctly. If you see, this layer 2 is where all of those duplicates are, and they each just say polygon on them. So I can just click on my dog. It's not going to move my leprechaun, and I'm just going to place all of them again. You want to try to place in the same spot as you did for your first ones, but it's okay if it's a little bit off. It's not going to make that big of a difference from the physical look. If anybody notices, that's kind of amazing. That one kind of is perfectly placed already. And again, it's the same exact image, just duplicated over and over again. And then we get to print these out. Okay. And our last one, get that place. Okay, I'm going to zoom back out. And now, let me zoom back out even more so we can actually see. So there's our entire sock file. So we are ready to go, and we can go ahead and print. Now again, remember I said a big thing about printing is we have to make sure that our cutting mat is set to no or none. Okay, so make sure, just verify you're set to none. Okay, and now I'm going to come up here to just a file print. I can't actually print it because I don't have 13x9 paper in my printer, but I'm going to go to print, and the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to preferences. Again, here it automatically sets to this 8.5x11 in Silhouette. So we need to change this. I need to make sure I'm on my right printer. I'm on my Epson. I print from an Epson 7710. And I'm going to go here to Super B, which is 13x19. My paper type, I always select paper premium presentation paper matte. It always is going to set to standard, so make sure you change that to high. I then go to more options. I make sure I turn off my high speed, and you need to make sure that you mirror it, especially if you are doing words, or else your words will end up coming out backwards on your actual printed socks once you go to sublimate them with the heat press. And then I can just click OK, and it will go ahead and print. So the key is just make sure your settings are correct here in your printing preferences, and make sure that you turn the cutting mat off, and then you should be able to go ahead and print out. Okay, so that was, I'm just gonna hit cancel on this, We're gonna quickly go over to Photoshop, and we're gonna do the same thing in Photoshop now. So here we are in Photoshop. If you are familiar with Photoshop, so everything works off of layers. So again, my first layer right down here is going to be my leprechaun socks. I just did a file open and everything opened up exactly as sized. I did a file place and I pulled my dog in. Now this one, I'm actually noticing there's a little bit extra on this. I'm going to go to my eraser just to remove a portion. You have to rasterize the picture, so you just want to click OK. And I have this little spot down here from my dog that didn't get erased, so I'm just going to remove that. Okay. So I'm working with these layers. Again, this is all on top of my image, so I need to put my layer underneath, just like we did last time. Now, you could go ahead and you can lock this layer so this layer doesn't move as well. And then just go back to my dog. And I'm going to shrink Winnie's face down. And I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing. Again, this will help prevent my sock template from not moving. I'm also going to need to zoom in here because this is way too small to get precise. Now back to my arrows so I can move everything. Still need to move Winnie down a little bit more. And again, there's a little bit of that ear hanging out in Photoshop. This one I placed a little bit different. That's okay. I'm going to go back to my eraser. And I remember I'm on the layer with my dog, so I just want to get rid of that small portion right there. And then back here. And now I can right click and I can go to duplicate layer and click OK. And I can move this over. And let me just slide this so we can see the entire sock. Okay. Another way you can actually make a copy, and I can just keep making copies of this. And I'm going to make this a little bit smaller. Let's make this at like 60%. So that way I can see the full sock here from side to side. Okay. So I can hit Control J, and what just happened is it just made another copy for me. So in Photoshop, if you are on that layer, you can just go Control J and it will make another copy, exactly what you already have. So let's make this even small. I'll make it smaller in a minute. Okay, so Control J again. And I'm going to place my dog. Control J again. And again, that's just duplicating that layer over and over again. And I just keep scrolling down to make sure we have them all filled in. It's probably a little bit lower. Another Control J. And once you really get the hang of this, it moves very quickly. I think sometimes the hardest part is placing the first one exactly how you want it. And then just making sure the rest of them are as close to that as you can get. Because you don't want them to look off, but it may not be exact. And that's okay. All right, so I'm going to come here. And last one. Again, Control J just to duplicate that. And let me place this. All right, I'm going to put this down to 25% so we can see more of our socks here. And now we have our socks. We can actually go ahead and print. Now what's going to happen is, again, same exact thing. We're just going to do a file print. And you just have to make sure everything is set correctly. So this is obviously cutting off quite a bit. My print settings are not set to Super B because I was printing on 11 by 17 yesterday. So as soon as I click this and print to Super Bee. And I'm going to click OK. So now there are my full set of socks. Now what I did is when I designed these, there's kind of like an imaginary line that runs right through. So when you place them, you'll have one for each side. So you'll need to print 2 copies in order to have a full set of socks, your front and back. Again, this is the toe portion of your sock, and we can just click print. And then step 3 will be the actual pressing of our socks. Thanks for joining me today.